And I first met Giovanni when I was 15 years old, 45 years ago, in 1972. In those days, he was a student. I don't know if any of you know this. He was an economist, PhD, worked for Fiat, was running Fiat in Ireland, suffered from terrible migraines, was looking for a way to cure his migraines. And his job involved him being on the road a lot. And he told me this as we were driving down the Autostrada from Orvieto to Rome in 1972. And he said, you know, I had this box in the car beside me with medicines, and I had to inject myself for the migraines while he was driving. And so when he discovered Chinese medicine, that's what fixed his migraines. There was the acupuncture that fixed his migraines. And it was such a revelation for him. And Giovanni had this thing about being a Maciocia or being a, Susan, can you remember?
Lagana.
A Lagana?
Yes, the light-hearted side of the
Because
family.
there was some rogue member of his family who was from North Africa. And the family had this thing about who was a Lagana and who was a Maciocia. The Maciocias were all intellectual and academic and scholarly and rigorous and very left-brain. And the Laganas were passionate and were dancers and were like full of life. And Giovanni always aspired to be a Lagana. And I think that Chinese medicine was a way that he could combine his Maciocia, his intellectual, and his Lagana, because within Chinese medicine there is all the academic opportunity for all of the study and all of the stuff he's famous for. But then there's also that opportunity to be a humanist, to understand the spirit, and to find, you know, the expression of the spirit. And then one other thing, for me personally, on a personal note, Giovanni and my dad were as thick as thieves. They were like joined at the hip. My dad was like probably 30 years older than him. And the way they met was Giovanni looked in the London phone book for acupuncturists. And there were 2 acupuncturists in those days. One of them was my father. And so he called him up and they became friends instantly. And with his passing, not only have I lost my friend with Giovanni, who, by the way, without whom I would not have become an acupuncturist. My dad was pressuring me, go become an acupuncturist. You know, Giovanni called me up and said, Julian, you should think about this. And him, I listened to, not my father. They were funny. I mean, they really enjoyed each other's company. My dad was full of stories. He was a real raconteur. And Giovanni really cherished my dad, and my dad really cherished Giovanni. They both, I remember seeing them walking down the street together, holding hands. And being an American, you just don't see that. You know, I was like 17. And with his passing, it's like there's this, I feel like the ground has kind of opened up beneath me, because it's like he was in so many of my memories with my father. And so it reminds me of the loss of my father, and then it reminds me of the loss of Giovanni, and everything Giovanni provided for me as a friend, more than a mentor. Occasionally as a mentor, but more as a friend. And life goes on, the cycle. So I really appreciate the opportunity for you guys hearing me out as I honor Giovanni. And together we honor Giovanni, our memory of Giovanni, and what he contributed to our lives. And he contributed immensely to my life, and I will never, ever forget. Thank you.
Yeah.